Let's speak about Hyliion stock. What is happening, investors? It is your boy Jack. I am not a financial advisor. I got the clothing line to prove it. And also, I am not in my usual setting. If you saw my last video, you will know why, but essentially, I'm in a hotel. My girlfriend is doing a course, so I said I'd come along for the journey, and so that is why everything looks a little bit different. But you already know how we do on this channel, guys. No days off. We work hard around here. We want to bring you guys the juicy content every single day, baby. And so today, I feel like speaking about Hyliion, because I don't really speak about them as much as I do, you know, Tesla, Workhorse, Lowerstown Motors. And I don't think I've ever really been known as the Hyliion guy, but I still get a lot of questions about them, and I want to speak about a few things. So I want to speak about the price action. That's really what it comes down to. I want to speak about what has happened over the last couple of months with the company, because it has truly been absolutely insane. We are up above $50, and we have been there for a considerable period of time. We've been hovering around that range, yes, but that's still very expensive right now. And there's a few pieces of news I want to go through. There's a few things in regards to the ownership of the company, who actually owns it. But the main things I want to speak about, okay, do I think it's too late to buy? And in line with that, do I think it is overvalued at current prices? Because that, as much as I am a bull on the company, as much as I am an investor, I'm up pretty much 150%. We have to speak about that. I want to speak about when I potentially would sell and what the long-term outlook of this company actually does look like. So the main question I'm getting asked about these guys is the usual. Is it too late to buy? And that's what we're going to try and answer today as best as I can. So right before we get into the video, guys, could I please ask you to do me a favor and smash that juicy like button? Do it for the dedication. I'm in a hotel and I brought all of my equipment all across the country, baby. If you're new around here, please hit that juicy red subscribe button. We are so close to 40,000 subscribers, it's blowing my mind. And please drop me a comment down below. I want to know what you guys think about Hyliion and its current valuation. Are you still a buyer? With that being said, guys, into the company. So this is simply put where I want to start. I just want to have a good look at the stock chart and the price action that we have seen. So if you've been with these guys from day one, okay, the 18th of June, a considerable period of time ago, is when this was all announced. And this was pretty much, the follow-up SPAC to Nikola. We all know what happened with Nikola. They shot up over 900% in a very short period of time. Since then, they've come crashing back down for very good reason. There was initial hype here, okay? It was nothing insane, nothing compared to Nikola. We went up 78% and we dipped back over a couple of days, but we were still up in the $17 mark. Then they went on an amazing run, all the way up to over $30 a share, okay? Before very sharply proceeding to give back a lot of that value. From the previous tops, they were down over 40% at one stage. And then we had this period of pretty much a bit of consolidation. A lot of people were buying, a lot of people were selling. And this is where a lot of us got in, myself included. I have a cost basis of $20.98 right now. But since then, we've gone on this immense run up. As of right now, we're up 153% from when the run pretty much started, right at about $20 a share. We were up over $55 a share, we trickled back down, we've gone back up, we floated around $50 now though for a considerable period of time. A couple of weeks we've been generally around $50 a share. One of the things that somewhat worries me is we haven't necessarily seen as much good news for this company as we have seen for some of the other EV players that are a little bit behind. Now, we have seen good news, and I obviously believe in the company. I'm invested in them, and I haven't sold anything yet. But at $50 a share, we really do have to ask ourselves, what kind of investor are we? Because that's a lot of nice profit. 150 to 200% is nothing to sneeze at. And especially if you're one of the people who got in earlier, if you got in somewhere between 10 to 15, you've made hundreds and hundreds of percent. So now I suppose we really need to figure out what kind of investor are we? Are we a long-term investor? Do we believe in this company in the long term, even at current valuations? Do we think it's worth holding it with the understanding that anything could happen? Or are you a swing trader and a short-term investor, and is it time to potentially get out? Now, what I will say first of all is the merger is happening very, very soon. In 6 days' time, the 28th of September, we are going to be able to vote in regards to whether or not Tortoise Acquisition Corp will be merging with Hyliion. And I think we all know that the answer is going to be they're going to merge. There is absolutely zero doubt about it in my mind. And for me, I kind of had price targets of $50 to $70 for this company post-merger. I can see we're already at 50 beforehand. We were up as high as over 55. How much of that is already priced in? And how many people are getting ready to run away with their profits? Now, I think anything could happen to this company this week. Either we're going to see a lot of FOMO, we're going to see a lot of people buying more shares of the company ahead of the merger, regardless of whether they're short or long-term investors. We could see a buy the hype, sell the news situation happen. A lot of people have been buying the hype. When you see a SPAC that is doing this well in such a short period of time, that has such a big growth catalyst coming, in a matter of a week, that's when FOMO kicks in. People realize, If hype gets behind them enough, if it's not a sell the news, this could be a $100 stock next week, and I'm not even joking. On the other hand, it could be a sell the news type deal. And you know, all of these people could have been buying, we could be pushing the price up, and then bang, the 27 or 28 hits, and there's a big sell-off. What do I think is going to happen and why? Well, I would like to show you guys this first of all, okay? What kind of investors own most of Tortoise Acquisition Corp? The general public holds 43% of shares. Institutions own 35%. Private companies own 15%. Hedge funds 5.2%. And insiders 0.6%. So we can see very, very clearly, okay? Pretty much 80% of the company is held by both institutions and the general public. It's hard to say with the general public, okay? A lot of people do buy the hype and sell the news, but I also think there's a lot more long-term investors than swing traders, I really do. So I think in regards to me and you, the everyday investor, I don't think we're going to contribute too largely to a massive sell-off. Institutions are where things get weird, because it's very hard to know what their intentions are. Institutions have to rebalance portfolios, you know what I mean? They can't have too much of any one company in their portfolio at any time. So if things go really, really, really well, their hand could be forced, and they may well potentially be forced to sell off some of their shares. Now, on the other hand, in general, with institutions, they are long-term investors, you know? There's very few institutions who are swing traders. So again, in my opinion, is this going to be a sell the news type thing? I don't believe so, but it's very hard to gauge that. I think we also have to remember that, you know, the more a company gets run up in value, and there's no denying, guys, Hyliion's been run up in value so much. All you have to do is look at the stock chart. The higher a company gets run up, in my opinion, the more likely it is for, you know, your everyday investor, who falls in regards to the general public, to sell the news. I mean, think about it. If you bought Hyliion at 20, okay, and pre-merger we were at 25, you've made 25%. You don't really care about that, you know. Worst case scenario, they take a big hit and maybe you lose 10% and you don't care too much. But if you bought Hyliion at 20 and now you're at 150% gain, you're going to think about it a little bit more, okay? So that's the psychology aspect to it. The better a company is doing before the news actually happens, in my opinion, the more likely we sell the news. Pretty much nobody in the SPAC game has outperformed Hyliion. Not Lordstown Motors, not Nikola, not any of the non-EV related companies. Nobody. Hyliion has led it by a long mile, and that is one thing that concerns me, okay? Now, I've spoken about this before. I don't know if I've mentioned it on the YouTube channel too much, but I have in my Discord group many a time, okay? I do plan on being a long-term investor with Hyliion, and I really don't like selling companies. I don't like swinging companies, especially not if I believe that, you know, in 5 to 10 years time, they could have literally changed the way the world works. They could have massive shares of the market, because that means ultimately I could sell Hyliion at $50 a share, come back in 5 years and they're $200, you're going to be pretty upset. But the thought has even crossed my mind, you know. Will I take half my shares and just run with the money? And let me tell you guys, if it's crossing my mind, I would imagine it's crossing an awful lot of investors' mind, because again, I am not prone to selling. I don't really like taking profits. I want to hold companies for very, very long periods of time. So the fact that the general public owns this portion of the shares, and pretty much everybody in this company has made money, and a lot of people have made over 100%, I will admit it's a little bit scary. But the next thing I would like to say is these guys truly, and I mean truly, have done an incredible job so far. A better job than pretty much any other SPAC I've seen. I'd probably argue about Lordstown Motors, but anyway, that's for a different video. We constantly are seeing good news for a company, which I've explained many times is incredibly, and I mean incredibly important to me as an investor, especially if it's a SPAC or any sort of somewhat speculative investment, you know? These guys get a lot of good press, an awful lot of good press. There are not many scathing articles written about Hyliion, and there is a lot to be said for that. If you're in the EV game in general, you are going to get attacked by shorts. It just seems to be the way the world works right now. I don't know why, but a lot of people, I suppose market movers can manipulate the EV market easier than a lot of other markets. There's a lot of people involved, there's a lot of hype. Generally, we're at relatively cheap cost per share, and generally, we trade a large amount of the float on a daily basis, so it's relatively easy to manipulate these markets. But with that being said, we just get an awful lot of good news. There's very few scathing reports. As well, a big thing we saw September 18th, proud to work with companies like Return It that are making a difference in the transition toward a cleaner, more sustainable commercial transportation industry. It's not the first time we've seen something like this happening. I mean, we go to the investor presentation, and one of the things I love from this presentation is this, okay? There's already early deployments in fleets with 30,000 plus trucks, and there's 2 million miles driven over the road to date. This was before them going public. We see the Hypertruck ARX customer trials in 2021 with launch partner binding pre-order for 1,000 trucks. There's already a pre-order for 1,000 trucks, and this is from one company. I don't think this is something that's going to fall through. I know a lot of the time we have to speculate about pre-orders, how many of them will actually come through, how many people will cancel, but this is true agility, and it's a whole big thing. And they said Hyliion's technology tackles one of the biggest pain points for the logistics and transportation industry: how to lower emissions without having to fully replace all existing assets and infrastructure in order to do so. The direct solution transforms existing fleets and delivers the desired efficiency, impact zero, or even negative emissions with significantly reduced operating costs over time. And again, this was announced before the investor presentation. We knew about this before that. We knew about it before we knew Hyliion was going public. So to have a company like Agility being willing to order 1,000 of your Hypertruck or your X's, it says a lot about your future prospects. Let's just put it that way. And I think we all know as well at this stage, we've some great strategic partnerships. The main one we like to speak about is Dane, a fantastic, very well established, very well respected company. And there's a massive market. And to be honest, Hyliion is going to control a lot of that market in my opinion, okay? There's an $800 billion replacement market opportunity. Now, this is one of the investor presentations where I think that number is somewhat misleading. There is that market opportunity, but, you know, it's not going to happen. 8 million trucks in operation, 944,000 trucks sold annually. A lot of them are going to stay non-hybrid. A lot of them aren't going to even consider a powertrain. It really is that simple. But I mean, when you look at the competitive landscape, Hyliion's the only one aside from Tesla and their BEV. There's not a lot of competition. I know a lot of you are probably saying, but what about Nikola? Nikola doesn't count. Thomas Healy, the founder and CEO, amazing man. Have a lot of respect for the man. Really love the way he comes across. He's so humble. He's so willing to explain absolutely everything crystal clear. He's becoming more active on social media. He's fantastic. So that, to me, I've stressed this so many times on the channel, is really important. I mean, I need to be able to believe in the man behind the company, and I do believe in Thomas. $1.47 billion market cap. I mean, there's a $1.1 billion enterprise value with no material debt outstanding at closing. This is going to be a big company once the merger goes through. Do the numbers make sense? I mean, our 2024 estimated gross profit is $737 million. Now, our revenue is over $2 billion, but still, that does only reflect 2.2% of the $94+ billion annual addressable market. In my opinion, they could definitely take over more than that, I won't lie. But I mean, at these valuations, with the fact that, you know, we're not really going to make any money for a couple of years, it's tough. I mean, we're $50 a share, guys. There is a whole lot priced in. And again, I'm not trying to make them look bad. I genuinely think they're an amazing, truly amazing company. I love them. I'm an investor, you know what I mean? If I'm an investor, I obviously love the company. But right now, does it make sense? So before we get too much further into things, from a long-term point of view, do I think it's a buy at $50 a share? Honestly, yes, I do. I think that we will see much higher prices down in the future, without a doubt in my mind, in all honesty. I do think the next 2 years in particular are going to be very big as well. In the short term, I think anything could happen. If you cannot handle being red, and again, I really hate to say this about a company that I'm invested in, and I know a lot of you guys are in as well, and that I've spoken about in the past, but if you can't handle red, like, I genuinely think we could quite easily go red 20+% here in the short term. I wouldn't consider it. If you can handle the red, and you're like me and you really do believe in this company in the long term, yes, I still think this is a very good price. Just understand that I don't think it has the same safety that it did when we were buying, you know, around the $20 mark. That obviously goes without saying, but I just would tread lightly, you know. At the end of the day, it still is a SPAC. It still is a relatively new company, and absolutely anything could happen. And one weird thing actually is the lack of, you know, bad press actually worries me in a weird way, because if we start to get some from respected people, it could lead to, you know, buy the hype, sell the news. We'll have to wait and see. But at the end of the day, I've spoke about this before. When I look at the summary of financials, I honestly think they can do better, and I do think that they will do better. And even at these projected financials, we're going to be at a nice price. We're going to be well above 50 a share in my opinion. But I did just want to make this video because I've spoken about them a lot. There is an absolutely massive catalyst coming in, and I just want to be open. I mean, I haven't bought these guys since about $20 a share, and I've no problem with dollar cost averaging up. And again, I've no intentions of selling, you know, regardless of whether we go up to 70 or we crash down to 35. No intentions of selling. I just want to give my thoughts on the whole ordeal. To be completely honest, I think there are better value plays out there right now. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean, yet again, it's a bad investment. There's just quite a lot of places I would rather put my money than Hyliion at $50 a share. Hope that doesn't ruffle any feathers, because at the end of the day, I still am a Hyliion bull. I'm an investor and I want it to go up. But I did just want to make this video before the merger goes through next week, because I'm getting asked about them an awful lot. People asking, is it too late to invest? Simple answer, I don't think it is. As long as you're ready for some volatility, as long as you're going to be able to hold if we do see some red for a short period of time, or maybe even a few weeks, I think you're going to be golden. But yeah, guys, that is the little update I had on Hyliion. But anyway, guys, there we have it, my full up-to-date thoughts on this company. I just wanted to make this, you know, one more Hyliion video before the merger goes through. My prediction, honestly, is that we keep going up. It genuinely is. I just want to make sure everybody's aware of what can happen, especially since I know a lot of new people are still trying to get into the company. I just want to present both sides. Ultimately, though, I still think it's a fantastic company. I believe in them, and I have no intentions of selling. If you have watched until the end of the video, You, my friend, are a true legend, and I really do appreciate you being here. If you did enjoy, could I please ask you just gently tap that like button? I mean, if for nothing else, the fact that I'm doing this in a hotel room. Please drop me a comment and subscribe if you're new around here. And if you're interested, please hit the first link in my description and sign up to become a patron. You will get full access to my private Discord server. You know, you will know if ever I buy or sell Hyliion or any other company, and you'll just get the most up-to-date information and get to talk about every single stock you can think of. So much useful information there. I can't stress it. It's actually amazing. You guys are helping me out a lot. But anyway, guys, if that interests you, just click that first link. Well, I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day. I will see you for another video soon. Peace.